Sorry guys, I'm out of breath. This book's a sprint, but welcome to the middle of nowhere. So, I just finished a book that truly was a sprint in its pacing. Goes from page 1 to the very end without allowing you to catch a breath, which can be kind of scary, but this is done in an excellent manner, and we're going to go into details. But first, I'll show you the cover. This is Wraithbound by Tim Akers. It is a fantastic novel, which I discovered by just seeing the picture of this cover, which is awesome, with the demon, the figure fighting with a sword and a gun, and this is a chainsword right here, wreathed in fire. It's top notch. I love it. And so I was really interested, just by that alone. I don't really read the back of the books, so I don't get spoiled by the story. I like to go in very blind, as I've mentioned previously. And so I'm not going to read the back blurbs on any of my videos either. But this is the story of Ray. And I was captured just by this and knew I wanted to find out what was going on, hoping that this element was in the story somewhere. And I can promise you it is. You fight the six-eyed demon at one point in the story. But it focuses on Ray and his family, the adventures that they kind of go on. I don't want to spoil anything, but straight from the prologue, there's an event that happens, and it leads into what this family has to go through. And it's all centered around the magic system of this novel, which to me is the strength of the novel. And that is that they are able to take elementals from the world, whether they be storm, air, earth, fire, death, and they're able to bind them into their own soul. Now, it took just a crazy element and crazy idea, but it's extremely fabulous, and it's used extremely well throughout this whole novel. Especially that their swords are sheathed within their souls, so they pull it out of it kind of appears, but they withdraw from their soul, and that is what they are able to use to control the elements, or the elementals that they have bound. And as they increase in power, they can bind more elements, and there's rules, of course, with it. I'm not going to tell you all the rules. I'm going to let you read and find out for yourself. But it was just fascinating to read. It was well done and well executed and really well thought out. The one drawback that I could see people having is the pacing of this novel. It is extremely fast. Like I said, from the prologue, this event happens and then you're just hitting the ground running. You get a little bit of build up at the beginning to kind of know who the main characters are, and then you're just going from beginning to end. And it pulled me in enough that every free second or free minute that I had, I wanted to be reading in this book, just because I wanted to know what happened. I wanted to know the next thing, or you're just thrown in from one thing to the next, that there's not a really good place that you want to stop reading, which is a testament to how the author did it. For those that are scared about this fast pacing, I will say that the author also has a very brilliant narrative tied into everything that he put into it. It's extremely well thought out. It's executed perfectly to plan. You know where the characters are going. You care for the characters, and you want them to succeed. You cheer them on. You want to know what's happening, and you really are worried about, when they're in these instances of peril, of what's going to happen. That being said, I would say that the big thing is there are moments of character dialogue where you get to know two of the characters extremely well, or three of the characters, and potentially a fourth. But there's some other characters that come into play that I felt like if we'd had a little bit more background, you might have cared a little bit more, but it's a very minor grumble for me. The action scenes are top notch. That they highlight the magic system, they highlight the characters and their abilities, and especially Ray, because he's a young teen. It's kind of a coming of age story, but done very differently than others. He's not really being trained by anybody. He's just trying to stumble through and is self-taught everything to himself. And that's what kind of gets him in the middle of trouble, as each thing has its own own issue that he believes he can overcome because he knows more than he should, or so he believes. And that was one of my favorite things about the characters. And you really see that character development from Ray and his sister and their friend that get embroiled in these issues. And you travel around this world, which is also very unique, as many of the towns and things have these walls in order to protect themselves from kind of this hell or chaos, but it corrupts everything around it and corrodes it and erodes it and makes things fall apart. And so they have these walls that are there to protect them, and you shouldn't go breaking the walls, we'll put it that way. I don't want to spoil anything that way, but there are issues with it, and you'll find out right through the prologue how big some of these issues can become. Once again, this is Wraithbound, and it is not his debut novel, which I am shocked I had never heard of this author before. I encourage everybody to pick up this one, but he has several other novels out there that sound just as intriguing and interesting as what this novel was to me. And so I'm definitely glad that I can be able to go and look into those and pick those up and read more, because the way that this is thought out and executed is extremely well done. There's nothing in this novel that really drew red flags. The only issue I could see is that some people might not have enough character development for how much they like. But if you're a fan of really fast paced and really great action with funny characters, and I also like that the author kind of made a joke about one of the characters always making a joke, and it was really, really well done, made me chuckle a few times to myself. But you could tell that he has this vision in place. And I'm looking forward, because this is book 1 in the series, in the Spiritbinder saga. I don't know how many books it'll be, but I can tell you that this magic system and the action and the intensity makes me want to read more and find out more where this whole story is going to end up. Because this one definitely ties up. You do get a satisfying conclusion for a novel, so I'm not left on the edge of a cliffhanger, but there are several hooks and questions that I have of what's going to happen to these characters in the future, or where they're going to go, and what else can this magic really do with these elementals and being able to see them. We see a few of the elementals being used spectacularly of the different styles, but I want to see more. I really love that magic, and especially with Ray, because he believes he knows everything and he makes a mistake in what he's doing, and how he grows and develops his powers, and what other elementals he may bind into his soul as he creates his soul sword. And once again, you can tell I'm in love with this magic system and how fascinating it is to me. I did fail to mention, and this is my caveat, is that the author did provide me an ebook copy for me to read and review, and I am extremely grateful that he sent me that copy. Hopefully I can do him some justice with this kind of review. But it always makes me happy when I'm able to receive these books and review them and have as good a time as the author is hoping that I do. And hopefully I'm highlighting some moments that the author himself found intriguing and fascinating. I know this is published by Bain, who I'm also grateful for. They reached out and offered me a copy, but I'd already received it from the author. But I encourage everybody to go out there, read it for yourself, find out how much fun it is to be in this world, and support the author. Pick up a copy. Let's find out what else he wrote, and let's settle in, go on a ride. Let this book be bound into your soul. I thank you guys for watching. As always, happy reading and stay great.